to him and I, or anybody that lives in Thailand and isn't mucking around with Coinbase in the US with a US bank account. And at this minute in time, Coinbase, coins.co.ch says 363,583 Thai baht if I want to buy a Bitcoin. So that's about, let's see, 11,000, almost 12 grand, a little bit less than 12,000 US and 33 baht per dollar, right? I think I did the math, right? A little bit less than 12,000 to buy. Plus, when you buy and you send in the money to them, they charge a 1% fee on top. So add another 3,635 baht or another 120 bucks. So that's what I can actually buy a Bitcoin for right this minute in Thailand. So that's the only rate that matters to me personally at the moment. And if I want to sell, 352,837. So that's a 10,500 baht spread. So it's about 300 bucks less is what I can buy for it. But those are the only rates that I care about personally, because that's if I want to deal with money, cash, fiat currency, that's the rate that matters, not this rate, other than the sentiment and to look at it and to explain stuff like this. So what are the advantages of crypto over traditional money? Some of the key advantages, and it was covered in Blank's clip, but think about it, decentralized. You don't have a bank or a processor in the middle. I want to send Ren some money. I just say, hey Ren, what's your address? Bitcoin. What's your Bitcoin address? Oh, here it is. Okay. In 10 minutes to some amount of time, depending upon which fee I pay, and if I have the ability to set the fee, which then drives how fast my transaction can go through in Bitcoin, he'll have the money. Nobody in the middle, just him and I, peer-to-peer, decentralized. Next, easy to use. Relatively easy to use. It's debatable how easy to use it is. Some people it's really easy to use, other people it's not so easy. But in general, basic Bitcoin's pretty easy to use. I mean, there's lots of providers out there, when I go through it a little bit later, that make it pretty simple for you to be able to buy and sell a Bitcoin or a fraction of a Bitcoin and use Bitcoin. Next one, anonymity. Nobody knows it's your address unless you tell them. And like I said, in like blockchain.info, for instance, if I have my wallet and I use them, every time I do a transaction, if I want to request money from somebody, I get a brand new address. It all goes to my main account, but I get a brand new address, so nobody can track all of my transactions, which is a good thing. Transparent, again, it's immutable, transparent. I can go to the blockchain.info, plug in an address, plug in a transaction code, and I can see everything. You can download the whole blockchain to your computer if you want. If you want to participate in the Bitcoin economy and be a miner, you wind up with the whole blockchain on the computer. And then you try to solve the cryptography equations just like everybody else and get the reward. Free from fees that are imposed directly by third parties. There are fees in Bitcoin. There's transaction fees. Because the way the Bitcoin network works is we have a computer. You can mine Bitcoin from your own machine. You won't be very successful because there's guys with tons of them that are specialized, but you could mine it from your own machine. And the fees, if you carry the block, there are transaction fees that get paid to the people who operate the network, but it's automatically handled. So Bitcoin, it's a modern gold rush. This is what's happening. I joke, but it's true. The whole cryptocurrency space is kind of like the wild, wild west right now, which is good and bad. Now, one of the services we provide from our company is evaluating lots of these crazy deals that are out there. Anytime you see a deal that says, I will guarantee you 2%, 3%, 4%, 8% per day return on your money, just send me your Bitcoin. And I will guarantee you that kind of return. Run fast. Because you can't guarantee those kind of returns. If I can guarantee 8% a day, guarantee, I'm not talking about, my performance because the markets have gone crazy, I did 8% a day for some period of time. If I guarantee it, now I've solved this problem. 8% a day is 240% a month. Who has heard of the rule of 72? Right? Divide 72 by the interest rate that you're getting, and then you figure out how long it takes to double your money, right? So 240 means you double your money, sorry, you get almost 4 times your money at the end of the month, right? Because 72 would double it, 140 would double it again. No, 212, that would be 8 times your money by the end of the month, right? 8 times. Okay, let's be realistic for a minute. If I knew how to do that, and Rem was my buddy, and he knew how to do that with me, think about it, I can turn 10 grand into 80 grand every month. And we knew exactly how to do it because we can guarantee it. Why would I go on the internet and share that with strangers? Would you? I don't think so. I don't think anybody would, because you just get $100,000. If you're that good that you can guarantee 8% a day, or you can guarantee 4% a day, just go get $100,000. At the end of the year, you get 400 million. So be very careful, but people get greedy. People say, oh, it's paying out, Look, I got my money. Ask the guys who were in Gladiator Coin. They were getting their money every couple of minutes or whatever, like clockwork, until the Ponzi scheme ended. Then they came up and said, oh, we need an admin fee of 15%. Then 3 days or 2 days later, after they collected whatever 15% they could get, then shut down. And there was another one, Bit Petite, that didn't even last, half as long. So just be careful. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Now, this is the Levi guys. So in the gold rush, people made lots of money. Actually, the story is, I think, the guys supplying the miners made more money than all the gold that was mined. So being in the ability to do that is quite helpful. Then you have a little spoon that you're digging with versus a really big spoon. What are you going to do better with? So get tools to help you control your money. So you get a little bit of Bitcoin or you get a lot of Bitcoin. Obviously, a lot of Bitcoin. So a little bit about what we do. This is not, I'm not going to sell anything, but we look at several ways people can grow their wealth. First, with Bitcoin, you can buy it, and that's BTM stands for Bitcoin ATM. There's like 1,500 of them in the world now, and they're starting to proliferate more and more, where you just go just like an ATM machine and pick up some Bitcoin. Protect that piece of paper that you get. I'll tell you a funny story. I know guys that make and distribute them. They're in Hong Kong. He did a press conference where he put 4,000 Hong Kong into the Bitcoin ATM machine, and you get a printout back, which is effectively a paper Bitcoin wallet. Now, it's a piece of paper, it has a QR code, because you can use these QR codes and scan them, or it has all the numbers, including your private key, which is the key to actually access the Bitcoin. So he held up that piece of paper in the press conference. Somebody took a picture and took the 4,000 Hong Kong. So be very careful what you do with pieces of paper that have your private key on it. Next, you can mine it. Most people don't mine directly themselves. What they do is buy into a pool, what's called a mining pool. If you're ever into the Bitcoin world, take a look. You see mining. So you can mine it, and then you get a reward based on the mining pool finding Bitcoin. You get rewarded with Bitcoin when they solve the problem and carry the next block. They get 12.5 Bitcoin. Speaking of mining, it was quite interesting. Jamie Dimon, who's the head of JP Morgan Chase, said, I'll fire anybody who works for JP Morgan Chase that I catch trading Bitcoin. And then John McAfee, who's the CEO, chairman of the largest publicly owned mining company, said, yo, which one's the fraud, Jamie? It costs $1,000 of electricity to mine a Bitcoin right now. It's about $1,000 worth of electricity gets used up by all the computers to find a Bitcoin. How much does it cost to print $1? Not much. So that's kind of a lot of the jockeying in public. But you can mine it, and the way to mine it is participate in mining pools where you can buy small shares and get a return in Bitcoin. You can trade it. Trading cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, all those is like trading penny stocks. So anybody familiar with the penny stock market? Just remember that when it comes to cryptocurrency, even the big one. It's not as bad in Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, the top 5, top 10, but you get below the top 10, it's still the wild, wild west. So you just need to be a little cautious. But You read stories, you know, and I know when I was talking about this 8% a day, right, or 3% or 4% a day, I know people who have returned that, though, over a period of time. But that was when the market was blowing up. So how much of it can you take credit for? If the whole market goes up 5x, everything, and you happen to trade and do 10 or 15x, you did better than the market, but the whole market was rising. What I was talking about is guarantee. Anybody says guarantee, run fast. Then the last one is called ICO in our parlance. ICO stands for Initial Coin Offering. A lot like an initial public offering for a stock company. Very similar. But basically an ICO is typically 4 smart guys get together and write something called a white paper, build a cool website, and say we're going to build this latest and greatest new thing. Hopefully it's around the blockchain. Sometimes it isn't. You know, it's just becomes a neat fundraising tool. And then they say we're going to do it. And then all the small guys get an opportunity to participate by sending in some Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum, and then they get back tokens in this new venture. But if you read a lot about that, it's also a little bit wild because the Securities and Exchange Commission in the US is saying, hey, most of these kind of look like securities. In a lot of cases, they are technically securities. Under the definition of a security is I give you guys money on the expectation you go do great things and I make money. That's the definition of a security. So the argument, and there's lots of articles on this now, basically say, for instance, if we even have done some things, but we don't have a working product that you can spend these tokens you're buying, then effectively we just sold you a security. And then of course, they'll ask, especially on the big ones, well, where is your financial registration statements? And where's your securities license? Because you just sold securities. So at that part, see, again, you gotta be careful. And there's like 30 or 40 of these coming out every week. There's a number of websites where you track them. We have, in our company, we look at top ones every week, run a report, and then pick the ones we're gonna put some money into. That's what we do. So, because there's tons of them. And I read another article that says 90% of all of them are scams. I wouldn't say all of them are scams, but there's a high likelihood that a high percentage of all of them are not going to make money. But it's just like the startup boom and the dot-com boom back in the 2000 time. You know, they threw money at anybody. Not all of them succeeded. Okay, next. How do you get your first Bitcoin if you don't have one? How can you get it? Because that's the first question a lot of people ask. Oh, I want to get into this. How do I do it? Normally, the entry into any of these cryptocurrencies starts with Bitcoin. That's the easiest way in most cases. So, one way to do it, there's a website called localbitcoins.com. That website enables me to sell Bitcoin privately to you. Now, they have an escrow service. So if you do it online, if I'm selling you some Bitcoin, you don't know me from Adam other than I have an ad up. It's kind of like Craigslist for Bitcoin. You don't know me other than I have this ad up, but maybe I have a good review score. So therefore, you're going to send me some money in my bank account. But how do you know you're going to get your Bitcoin? And of course, I'm on the other side of this transaction, so I'm going to send them some Bitcoin, and it's irreversible. How am I going to get my money? So they're in the middle and they'll escrow it. So until such time as it's confirmed that the money's in the bank account and the Bitcoin's in the Bitcoin account, you know, the Bitcoin, so the money's in the bank account, they'll release the Bitcoin. So it is a lot safer. So the pros, they also take PayPal. You don't have to do lots of verification. It takes a little bit of time to do it. Another one, coinatmradar.com. That's one where you can find the Bitcoin ATMs around the world. Of course, with a Bitcoin ATM, they have them in Macau too. With a Bitcoin ATM, you just put your money in the machine up to whatever the limits are, and you get back a sheet that has your Bitcoin. So totally anonymous. Not always easy to find a machine, and they're not always near your house. Coinbase, that's the largest wallet provider. They're out of the US. They have like 13 million accounts. If you have a US bank account, number one, when you sign up for Coinbase, don't use your Thai IP because it knows you're in Thailand and it thinks you want a Thai account. And it's a bit of a pain to switch it to the US. But the good thing about Coinbase is that you have a US bank account, and they actually work in a number of other countries. They're the best in the US. You can natively buy Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. In other words, you connect your bank account, get verified first, connect your bank account, send in some money, and say, please get me Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Ethereum, and you can hold it, and you can go back and forth between those cryptocurrencies and cash if that's all you wanted to do. They also have a sister exchange called GDAX, which then you can go over there if you want to buy, sell other cryptos. Verification is difficult because it's American, but in some ways you would think about it, all this verification stuff is good, right? You don't want someone stealing your identity. You want them to verify you're who you are. You don't want them to get shut down. Here's the biggest risk. Coinbase is a company. Anybody ever heard of something called Mt. Gox? Right, Mt. Gox was the world's largest Bitcoin exchange, and it got hacked and shut down in 2014. $485 million down the tubes. Now, if it was in today's amount, that would have been billions. And these are public or private companies. You know, you're holding it. If it fails, bye-bye Bitcoin. So, knowing that it's a good company, knowing that it's doing things right, they're not going to get shut down by regulators because they're doing money laundering and things, is a good thing. So, I wouldn't worry about that. But one thing for sure with cryptocurrency, only put stuff on public exchanges and public wallets like that you need to transact with. If I'm going to trade it, I have to put my money in the trading account, obviously. But if I have a lot of money relative to how much money I have in total, if I have a lot of it in crypto, do not leave it in a public place. Because if it goes out of business, you're hosed. So always move and keep your Bitcoin, the excess that you need above spending and trading, in a hardware wallet or in a private wallet that you're the sole person controlling. So, another one in Europe, CEX.io. So for people with European bank accounts, that's an easy one to use. Skip through, you don't need all. Okay, all of us live in Thailand. If you're interested in getting Bitcoin in Thailand, paying bills and doing things like that, coins.co.th is the easiest. And they also protect you, because I was trying to move like 6 Bitcoin